All right, welcome. Today we're kicking off a two-part series on a pretty revolutionary way to think about e-commerce email marketing. So if your current strategy feels like you're just stuck on a hamster wheel of sales and watching your profits shrink, well, this is for you. We're about to dive into part one, the strategy behind a playbook that doesn't rely on discounts to build a powerful brand and drive revenue that actually lasts. So to get a sense of just how powerful this approach is, you have to start with this number, $200 million. That's how much revenue has been generated for brands using the exact principles we're going to break down today. This isn't just some theory or a nice idea. It's a proven, repeatable system for turning your email list from, just a mailing list into one of the main profit centers for your entire business. So what does a number that big actually mean for a brand like yours? Well, it means consistently pulling in 30 to 50% of your entire store's revenue just from email. And here's the most important part. You can do it without constantly putting everything on sale. This is really about building an asset, an audience that buys at full price because they believe in the value you're giving them, not because they're just holding out for the next 25% off coupon. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to diagnose the big problem, what we call the e-commerce discount trap that so many brands get stuck in. Then we'll get to know the customer you're actually talking to, the 2026 shopper. From there, we'll get into the good stuff, the solution. We'll start with finding the sending sweet spot. Then we'll cover the 5 core content pillars you'll use instead of sales emails. And finally, we'll show you how to mix it all together with a balanced content diet. So let's start with that problem, the trap that so many e-commerce brands are stuck in. I'm talking about the discount trap. And look, it seems to make sense, right? Sales are a little slow, so you blast out a 20% off email, you get a nice spike in revenue, and it feels like a win. But it's just a short-term fix, and it creates some really serious long-term damage. It slowly but surely kills your brand's value and just systematically destroys your profit margins. Understanding this contrast right here is, well, it's everything. On the left, you have the vicious cycle of discounts. Every single sale email you send is literally training your customers to wait for the next one. I mean, why would anyone ever pay full price if they know a discount is always right around the corner? This just forces your margins to shrink and shrink and shrink. Your brand becomes the one that's always on sale, and you end up attracting bargain hunters who have zero loyalty. They'll leave you in a heartbeat for a competitor's coupon. But on the right, you have the virtuous cycle of value. Here, you're educating. You're building a real desire for the product itself, not the price tag. This protects your margins, it builds a strong premium brand, and, most importantly, it creates loyal, full-price customers who are with you for what you stand for. So why is this discount trap so much more dangerous now than, say, 5 or 10 years ago? It's because the customer themselves has completely changed. The old playbook of just blasting discounts doesn't work anymore because we're not talking to the same shopper. So let's really dig into who this new shopper is. Your modern customer, this 2026 shopper, lives in a state of just complete digital overload. They are bombarded. They see, on average, over 170 e-commerce ads every single day scrolling through social media and websites. Their attention is the scarcest resource on the planet. Now, at the same time, they're super curious, they love discovering new brands that match their values, but, and this is so important, they are deeply, deeply skeptical. I mean, who hasn't been burned by a product that didn't live up to the hype? This skepticism makes them incredibly selective. They don't just need a good product. They need to be completely convinced to trust you over all the other noise. This right here, this is the question you should have taped to your computer monitor. It's what's running through your customer's mind, whether they realize it or not, every time they see your brand. Why you? Your entire email strategy has to be built from the ground up to answer this single question. Because if you can't build trust, if you can't stand out on something other than price, you're going to be forced to compete on price. And trust me, that is a race to the bottom that you will never, ever win. Okay, so we've established the why. We get it. We need to build trust and provide value to win over this modern shopper. But how do we actually do that? Well, the very first step is just showing up consistently in their inbox, which brings us to a huge question. What is the sending sweet spot? How often should you email to make the most money and stay top of mind without totally burning out your list? Finding the right frequency is a real balancing act, and the data is actually super clear on this. If you're only sending 1 or 2 emails a week, you're just leaving money on the table. Your customers basically forget you exist in all the noise of their inbox, and you miss out on a ton of revenue. Now, on the other extreme, sending 5, 6, 7 times a week, that just leads to burnout and annoyance. Your unsubscribes go through the roof, your open rates tank, and your revenue actually starts to level off or even go down. The sweet spot, tested over and over, is right there in the middle. 3 to 4 value-packed emails per week. That frequency is the key to staying top of mind and hitting their inbox on the exact day they're finally ready to buy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sending 3 to 4 times a week? That sounds like a lot. And you're right, it would be if all you were sending was sale, sale, sale. A customer would hit unsubscribe so fast. So the real question is, what do you actually say in those 12 to 16 emails you're sending every month? This is where we introduce the 5 content pillars, the bedrock of this entire non-discount playbook.
These 5 pillars are your new toolkit, and they're all designed to build trust and desire. Pillar 1 is educational. This is where you answer their questions before they even ask them. Think how to pick the right foundation for your skin type, or 5 ways to style our best-selling jacket. You're just being helpful. Pillar 2 is social proof. Here you let your happy customers sell for you. You showcase 5-star reviews, user-generated content, maybe a magazine feature. It's not you saying you're great, it's other people. Pillar 3 is community and brand. This is your why. Share your founder story, talk about your mission, highlight a charity you support. This builds an emotional connection. Pillar 4 is the product highlight. And notice, this is not a sales email. It's a deep dive into the craftsmanship and benefits of one product, framed to build appreciation, not to push a coupon. And finally, Pillar 5, strategic sales. And that word strategic is key. We aren't getting rid of discounts completely. We're just making them rare, exciting events, maybe once a month, that reward your subscribers and create real urgency.
Okay, so now you have all these powerful ingredients. The last piece of the strategy puzzle is learning how to combine them. You can't just send educational emails for a week and then social proof the next week. The real magic is in the mix. Think of it like a balanced diet for your email list, keeping your audience engaged and nourished with value so that they're ready to buy when the time is right. So what does this healthy content diet look like in a typical month? Well, here's the breakdown. A full 60% of your emails, that's educational and social proof combined, are purely about building trust and giving value before you even ask for a sale. Just think about that. You're giving, giving, giving. Another 20% is focused on building that deeper emotional connection to your brand. And only a tiny fraction, just 10%, are direct product features, and a mere 10% are actual sales. This ratio is the secret sauce. You are completely flipping the script from buy now, to here's why you should know us, like us, and trust us. This is how you escape the trap. So let's just boil it all down. The key takeaway from this whole strategy is pretty simple. First, you have to show up consistently at the right frequency to earn a spot in your customer's mind. And that sweet spot is 3 to 4 times a week. And second, you have to fill that calendar with the right mix of value-driven content from those 5 pillars, with a really heavy focus on education and social proof. It's that powerful 1-2 punch of consistency and value that turns your email list from a crowd of bargain hunters into a real community of loyal, full-price customers. Okay, so now you have the complete strategic framework. You know the problem, you understand the customer, you know what to send, and you know when to send it. But there's still a huge piece of the puzzle missing. How do you actually write the subject lines that get people to open? The words that build desire? How do you design these emails so they're so compelling people are actually excited to click buy now without even looking for a discount code? You have the strategy, but what do you actually say? We're going to cover exactly that, the art and science of copywriting and design that brings all of this to life in part 2.